Hello, everybody, and welcome to, I don't know what to call this, because we're doing a look at an RPG that's old, so I don't want to call it, like, a first look. But I don't want to call it an overview, either, because it's not, I doubt it will be exhaustive. So first impressions, perhaps? Anyway, this is, Andy Makes a Friend, or First Impressions, or something. We'll figure it out. I'm Andy Hatton. Hi. You're probably watching this on YouTube, but if you're not, hello on Twitch. Sorry, I'm a little, trying to get my bearings. Okay. So, as I obliquely mentioned, today we're going to be talking about the Star Wars role-playing game. Specifically, this is the Fantasy Flight reprint of West End Games' first edition Star Wars role-playing game. So, comes in a slipcover. Comes with 2 books. Yeah, you can see that, right? It says Star Wars on the back. It comes with 2 books. The role-playing game book, it's the core book, which you can see, and I love this. It's so thin. There are not that many rules. And, like, a good, not quite half of this, but, like, a decent chunk of the end is an adventure. So, like, the rules take up, like, 80 pages, and they're not complicated. We'll go into it in a second. And there's also fun, like, fake advertisements in here, like there's like a little fake X-Wing ad. You can take a space cruise, a galactic tour. There's an Empire recruitment poster in here. There's a canonically inaccurate thing about R2 Astromechs, because this is all printed before the prequels, so it claims they're new in, I guess, 0 BBY. And actually, there's an opening crawl that is shockingly not totally inaccurate for how little we knew about the prequels at the time. I'll actually read that at some point. So it comes with that. It's, funnily enough, it's nowhere on here does it say 30th anniversary, but it does have a big 40th for A New Hope on it. Ironically, because Fantasy Flight is sort of notoriously late on things, this was not released in time for the 30th anniversary of this game. It's released for the 31st anniversary. And then the other book is the Star Wars source book, which inside has chapters on rules for kind of expanded rules for spaceships, starfighters, combat starships, space transports, a lot of spaceship stuff, stats on all of them, droids, repulsor lift vehicles, walkers, some alien rules, a couple creatures. They all look like beasts of burden. Oh, and Minox. It has banthas, dewbacks, Minox, Rancor, space slugs, tauntauns. Lightsabers, general equipment, stormtroopers, a rebel base map, and then info, like stats for heroes and villains that include Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia Organa, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Lando Calrissian, Mon Mothma. I love that Mon Mothma made the cut. 3PO and R2. Old Ben Kenobi. It says Obi-Wan. I'm saying Old Ben. Yoda, Boba Fett, and Darth Vader. And then there's a bibliography, which... What's the bibliography? Star Wars, pretty much. The 3 films. Oh, and then books. I guess there were a couple. A couple novels at this point. Okay. So I'm trying to think where the best way to do this is. And then the very last page is a very grainy photo from A New Hope. There's lots of... So one of the cool things about this is... let's see. Marty's asking in chat what the books are. Okay. Okay, it's got... it has the Han Solo trilogy. It has the 3 novelizations of the Star Wars movies, which Star Wars is credited as being written by George Lucas. I think that's funny. Empire Strikes Back is by someone named Donald F. Glut. And Return to the Jedi is James Caan. I assume not the actor. It's the Han Solo trilogy, and then the Lando Calrissian trilogy. Splinter of the Mind's Eye is actually not on here. Because even then it might not have been considered canon. Yeah, it's probably for the best. It's not good. Splinter of the Mind's Eye is bad. It's the low-budget sequel to Star Wars. Yeah, and to be clear, I love Mon Mothma. It's just like, at this point, because she shows up in deleted scenes of Revenge of the Sith, and then they get the same actor to play her again in Rogue One. And I am a big fan of Mon Mothma. But it's just kind of funny because, like, she's sort of like, she's in the movies for like 5 seconds. Like, Admiral Akbar probably has more screen time than her, or General Dodonna from the first Star Wars movie. But maybe even then they were like, we need another girl. Because they did. I wonder what her stats are. Mon Mothma, I think this is appropriate, has a 10 in bureaucracy. It's pretty good. That's pretty great. 12 is kind of like the max. And Billy D got in gambling. Oh, where's your... Mon Mothma is a better bureaucrat than Lando is a gambler. So I think that lets you know something about this system. Let's see. What's Old Ben? Old Ben has a 7 in sneak, which I love. Because of course he does. Because he sneaks around the Death Star. He's got an 11 with a lightsaber. Old Ben? Old Ben has an 11? Okay. I guess. What about Vader? Yoda kind of sucks at everything. This was also prequels Yoda. He doesn't suck at everything. He doesn't have anything kind of crazy OP. His force powers are pretty strong. Let's see. There's Boba Fett. Darth Vader's last. Yeah, Vader's about what you think. As for, I mean, old Ben did kick Maul's ass, but it's not like, that was more like, that was a mind fight more than physical prowess. Like, he just outplayed Darth Maul. I love that fight. That fight's great. Okay. Sorry, if I get too dark, someone in chat let me know. And if my fan is too loud, someone in chat let me know. I just put on my headphones today because I was thinking, I don't need my headphones. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the system. Maybe at some point I'll have it. This is kind of off the cuff, me just kind of talking about what I've experienced so far. I've mostly read this. I've mostly read through the core rulebook. I've just kind of flipped through the source book. Source book's really cool. There's some really cool like blueprints of X-wings and stuff like that. And actually, these books and Weston Games had the license for I guess about 10 years. They had it up until they went under right before the prequels came out, ironically. So they had it through the late 90s, from 87 to the late 90s. And they are responsible for naming a lot of stuff that we consider like kind of classic stuff, like Twi'leks. Twi'leks were named by West End Games. It's that kind of stuff. Like I'm sure Z95 Headhunters probably first appeared in these, which are kind of around in canon. They're typically the precursor to X-Wings. I'm going to quick do a Google. Star Wars things West End Games named. Rodian, Quarren. Let me see if this article has anything. And this is going to be too long for me to read. Sorry. Although I was flipping through something about Mon Calamari, and some of the lore is no longer right. Like I believe it says Mon Calamari are surface, or like they're like shore dwellers, and it's like, oh, that's not accurate, because in the Clone Wars they show up and they live in big underwater cities. But like a lot of the basic stuff that you said, the lore may not be accurate anymore, but the naming conventions still are. But I mean, a lot of legends got thrown out with the new canon. I don't know, Disney canon, I guess. Okay, so basically, the system is a dice pool system. But Andy, you've probably never said this on a stream before. You hate dice pools. Sometimes. Sometimes I do. I don't like dice pools where you have to search for a specific number on the dice you rolled. So don't tell me to roll a handful of D6s and then I have to go and find the 5s. No, that's I don't like that. This one, you just pick up your dice, you roll them, you add them all together. It's Fireball. And they range from 1d6 to, I think I said 12d6. And then you can occasionally add 1 through 3 to them. So you might have, for instance, in Dexterity, 3d plus 2. Means you roll 3d6, you add them all together, you add 2 to it. So you can see over here the attributes in this game are Dexterity, Knowledge, Mechanical, Perception, which is also Charisma, essentially, Strength, and Technical. Now, the thing that I kind of like in this is, you know, in games like Dungeons and Dragons, you can sort of argue that, like, certain stats, like Dexterity is overpowered, you could say. Like, Dexterity is the king stat. Like, you need Dexterity. Whereas you can get away with a lot of With this one, I mean, dexterity is important, but perception is important, just as it is in Dungeons & Dragons. Strength is important because that's essentially your hit points. You roll against stuff. And yeah, I just kind of like that. It feels a little more spread out, but probably not. I've never played this, so I don't know. Let's see. So there's that. Here's something that's rad. This game, 30 years ago, had a way for the player to spend a resource to do something better. Much like fate points. Or lots of other stuff that we have, pushing stuff. Lots of other stuff that we have in modern, that are considered staples of modern role-playing games. You had force points. If you spend a force point, you get to take every die you roll, and you double your dice pool. So if you needed to really make a blaster shot, and you have 5D blaster, you're like, I'm going to use a force point to roll double that. So I roll 10D. Now, if you use your force point for something selfless and heroic, at the end of the adventure, you get your force point back, and you get a second force point. If you use it for nothing particularly, you use it to nothing heroic but nothing evil or cowardly, you just lose it. And then I think you get it back at the end of the adventure. I can't remember. There's specific rules. But if you do it for something selfish or evil, you permanently lose it and instead gain a dark side point. And every time you do another evil deed, you have to roll under your dark side score or over your dark side score. You have to roll over your dark side score, or else you fall to the dark side. I don't know if you have to play with those rules specifically, but I do think it is an interesting mechanic that is in here. Okay. This game doesn't have classes. Everything is skill based. There are 3 force skills: control, sense, and alter. And some force powers require you to combine the 2 uses of them. So control would be... Let's see. The force, 66. Hold on a second. Okay, control. So stuff like control pain, remain conscious, hibernation trance, accelerate healing, detoxify poison, absorb energy. So that's like what Darth Vader does when he puts his glove out and Han Solo shoots it and he just deflects. Although in some versions of canon, that's a special power of his glove, which is bullshit. It should be a force power. It shows you how strong Darth Vader is that he's like, I don't care. I don't even need to take my lightsaber out to deflect your blasters. Sense powers, receptive telepathy. So kind of... speaking to another person's mind. Or reading it. Magnifying your senses. Life sense. Instinctive astrogation, which I love, because I believe the basis is... the basis is, because there are little quotes from the movies here. The basis is Luke just knows where Dagobah is. He uses the Force to figure out where Dagobah is. He doesn't look it up in a chart. He just pilots the ship there. And then control plus sense is projective telepathy, far-seeing, alter, telekinesis, injure / kill. And you get a dark side point for doing that. Is that... It doesn't say that's force lightning. But I would say that's probably Force Lightning. Control plus alter. Control another person's pain, so take their pain away. That's what Obi-Wan does. Obi-Wan returns to consciousness in A New Hope on Luke. That's down here. Inflict pain. Place in hibernation trance. Accelerate another's healing. Transfer force. And then control, sense, and alter is a lot, but it's mind trick, force choking someone, and beyond. Oh. Here's the quote for telekinetic kill. Force choke. Clutching desperately at his throat, Captain Nita slumps down, then falls over on his back at the feet of Darth Vader. Apology accepted, Captain Nita. So that's and keep in mind, this was before the prequels, so that's why some of the powers aren't present. Like, there's not a force jump. No force speed, but I think that would be really easy to just kind of homebrew in. And there are a bunch of books that came out for this, like over 100. Unfortunately, you can't get them in PDF because of Lucasfilm rules, allegedly. Some people say it has to do with EA. Some people say it's Lucasfilm, or both. And Marty in chat is saying, it's funny how limited their pool was. I was going to say imagination, but they obviously added a lot of canon. But you don't want to start making up the Force. Yeah, I think the Force is one, it's sort of better if it's kept mysterious. In some ways. But at the same time, at the very end of this, it says, make up your own Force powers. Like, there's nothing that says what a Jedi can or can't do. And we learn something new in every movie about what Jedi can and can't do. And these are also just the rules, the basic rules. So, like I know there's Jedi Academy source books that I'm sure add stuff from the books, because the books started getting kicked off after this. If you keep it vague, then George Lucas can just do whatever he wants with it. And the sequel trilogy can just do whatever they want with it. You can't just say words. We don't know what a Force dyad is. You've never said it before. What was I going to say? So yeah, and the I don't know how apocryphal this is or not, but I tend to believe this is true. When Timothy Zahn was going to launch the EU, ostensibly, when he was going to start writing Heir to the Empire, Lucasfilm just sent him a crate full of West End Games books. Here you go. This is what Star Wars is now. They've been keeping it alive for the last 10 years. Because Star Wars was, like, you know, this is, again, I was just born when this came out. But the sort of the idea that, like, after Return of the Jedi, I listed the Star Wars books. There were 6 of them, and they were the Han Solo trilogy and the Lando trilogy. Until this and the Timothy Zahn books and then the rest of the expanded universe, there wasn't any new Star Wars. There was the Ewoks cartoon and the live-action movies, but those are not remembered very fondly. So anyway, what was I saying? So that's the Force. Okay, so there are no classes in this system. Equipment, background, personality, connection with other characters. Like, to me, this stuff is so... Like, you think 1987, like, this is stuff that, first of all, 5e just added some of this stuff, like Dungeons and Dragons. But even if you go into, like, games like Fate, sort of, you know, what we consider indie games, kind of, and what are often considered sort of pushing the envelope, this system just does a lot of it. and it's just kind of amazing to me. And look, some of it is clunky and old. Like, I will get to their hit point system, which is just, it's a lot of counter saving kind of things. And I think eventually they got through it because reading about this game, it seems like the most popular edition is not this version. It's second edition, revised and expanded, I think it's called. So essentially 2.5. But from what little I've read about that, it just adds more stuff. And, boy, I love this skill list. It's not that big. It covers everything. Like, it's just perfect to me. Thank you, Liz. Okay, so while there aren't classes, there are something called templates. And hold on, let me flip this for you. Whoops. Okay, let's try that again. Sorry. Okay. So, for instance, let's find a bounty hunter. Here we go. So if you want, you don't pick a class, you pick a bounty hunter. I'm going to play a bounty hunter. There's like 25 of these. You just pick an archetype, and here you go. Then you fill out your stats. Now, technically, I believe most of these are for humans, unless it says otherwise. Like Mon Calamari is just Mon Calamari. So from what I understand, and you can create your own character. Like, obviously, you don't have to do this. But from what I understand, most of these assume you are human unless it says otherwise. Oh, jeez, Ewok. It's right there, Andy. And there are rules. There was an Alien Force user. Yeah, I'll go through some of the, because again, this is all before we know what, like, the Clone Wars is and stuff. So there's really some interesting stuff. Yeah, it's Ewok, Mon Cal. It's elf, dwarf. Now, again, these are just suggestions and templates. You can just play an Ewok, and the rulebook even says, of course there are Ewoks who aren't like this. Of course not all scouts are so-and-so. So there are rules to make your own characters as well. But these are nice. You could create a character in 5 minutes. You just add, you get, I can't remember how many skill points you get, but you get skill points, and then there are rules for, like, how many dice it costs to increase skills, and then how many dice it costs to give you little pips. But yeah, if you want to be an Ewok, here's just the rules for Ewoks. Really technical? Is 2D really mechanical? Ewoks. Oh, actually, mechanical does cover beast riding. That's fair. Never mind. Okay. Let me get out my skelly hands. Okay. So, let me scroll up to Alien User of the Force. So, only a couple of these... traps? I'd say traps is probably either technical or mechanical. And as you can see on here, there are blank lines. So, if you wanted to, for instance, be good with a bow and arrow, like an archaic weapon. Archaic. Chewbacca was piloting the AT-ST. They weren't very helpful. I'll just say that. Oh, so there are little blank. So if you want to create your own skills, you can. So let's see. So alien student of the Force. I'll flip now. Annoyingly, gonna have to flip these over. But, so they start with the Force, which a lot of players don't start with Force powers. You can get Force powers. You don't have to start with the Force to get it. The rules for gaining the Force in this system aren't easy, and you have to find a Master, which is hard when there are 2 Jedi Master in A New Hope, and one of them dies real fast. But I also kind of like the idea that it also... the book kind of implies, like, the Jedi aren't the only way to learn the Force. Like, alien student of the Force. Let me read it, but I'm pretty sure it says nothing about Jedi. You have what humans call Jedi powers. Yeah, perhaps you are simply curious. Like, you don't have to be a Jedi. One of a tradition different from that followed by the Jedi. Like, I am a servant of the light. Like, yeah, this game is all about... I just love it. Like, it's just... No, the Jedi aren't the end-all and be-all, nerds. Go find a Dathomiri witch. And then it gives you little suggestions for that. Little quotes. Personality. Okay, let me find failed Jedi, because I remember that one being cool. Okay, failed Jedi. A long, long time ago, back in the days of the Old Republic, you were an aspiring Jedi. Sure, you remember Skywalker and Kenobi and all that crew, but you failed. You couldn't hack it. The dark side kept calling. And things never worked quite the way you wanted them to. You turned to drink, and things went downhill from there. Then the Empire came, and suddenly it wasn't healthy to be a Jedi, even know anything about them. You spent a lot of years drinking heavily. It's not very pleasant to remember. Okay, you've got one more chance. You've got a kid who wants to learn about the Force. You're not sure you can teach him much, but you can try. Try to do something worthwhile before you die. It's Kanan Jarrus. 30 years before Kanan was a thing. Dathomiri. Dathomiri? The Night Sisters. From Dathomir. Are a thing. I would allow it, Liz. The big lion turtle from Rebels. Would 100% allow it. Also, you can just... One of the things is just you play a child. Love it. Okay. Let's see. Here's Minor Jedi, which I also think is funny. Just like, well, I was a Jedi. You're like tagging Bink. Like, you were a Jedi, but nobody really cared. Oh, here's a good one. You're a fake Jedi. Quixotic Jedi. You claim to be a Jedi. Actually, you're not. Oh yeah, I love the Night Sisters. They were so cool in the Clone Wars. Does Quixotic Jedi... Quixotic Jedi has one Force die. Oh, boy. Let's see. Oh, poor Yaddle. Yeah, that's fun. Okay. So, I mean, oh, I just love how short this character sheet is. Okay. So, I'm trying to think where to go from now. I feel like I've been rambling a little bit, but so there are rules, and again, I think a lot of this would change depending on when you set your game, because a lot of stuff has changed since 1987 in Star Wars lore. If you're setting your game in the Old Republic or the High Republic, even the Clone Wars, would you need to have certain strict regulations on who can teach you Force powers and how many experience points it costs? But then, does that make it more overpowered to be a Jedi? Isn't that what Jedi are? Like, you watch Clone Wars, the Jedi are OP. Like, yeah. Okay. So let me talk a little bit more about the system, and then maybe we'll create a character together. So one of the other cool things about the system is you can basically do as many things as you want on your turn. It's just the more you try and do, the worse you are at everything. So you could take out your pistol and try and shoot 5 different people, but you're just not going to be very good at it. So what you do is, let's say your blaster score is 7 die. So normally, you aim, you shoot, you limp wrist around like Han Solo. He has no blaster control. Things just flopping all over the place. So normally, if you were to aim and fire, you'd roll 7d6. Let's say you want to shoot 2 people. Okay, I'll write that down. Let me make sure I'm doing this right before I start pontificating. Okay. So if you want to shoot 2 people, you lower your die by 1. So you would roll 6 dice for both of them, or just the second one? Okay, let me just read the example. Rorak's blaster skill is 5d1 plus 1. His player decides to fire 3 times in a single combat round. That's a total of 2 extra skill uses, so he subtracts 2d from the skill code. In addition, he's running, so you subtract another one. So the first time he fires, he rolls 2d1 plus 1. The second time, he rolls 2d1 plus 1 again, and the third time he rolls the same thing. So if his blaster skill was 6, if he tried to fire, or if it was 5, and he tried to fire 6 times, he wouldn't fire at all, because 5d1, 5 die plus 1 is less than a single die, so there's no dice. So basically, you can do a bunch of stuff on your turn. You could, swing across a chasm, shoot a door, shoot a stormtrooper, but the more stuff you try and do, the less likely you are to succeed. And typically you're trying to hit numbers. So you're trying to do 5, 10, 15, 20. Like, there's difficulty numbers. And then, so there's really no armor class. It's like, how close are you? Difficulty numbers. And then the person has a chance to dodge and then resist. So that's where the combat gets a little... It's a lot of dice rolling back and forth. I think there are ways to make it less dice rolling back and forth. But you can add a dodge roll. But then you have to consider that if you shot 3 times on your turn and then you dodge, your dodge already starts down all of the actions you did. So you have to consider, I can shoot once and be really good at it. And then if someone shoots me, my dodge isn't affected that poorly. And then your dodge will carry through for the round. It's a thing. The way initiative works in the base rules is everyone declares what they are doing, then you all roll your die, and whoever gets the most goes first. So whoever has the kind of the strongest plan, I shoot him real good with 1 shot, you go first. And then that might cause that person to lose their turn if they get stunned and that kind of stuff. So there's, doing a lot on your turn, doing it well. There are other ways to do initiative. One of them is you just go based purely on perception score, and you do it. You ask the person with the lowest perception score to tell you what they are doing first. Just tell me what you're doing. Okay. Or what you're planning on doing. You tell me what you're planning on doing. The person with the next highest perception score goes to the person with the highest perception score, knows what everyone is doing, and gets to then act. So they're the one who is paying the most attention. Or they get to then decide, and then you do it essentially in reverse order. So you get to know what everyone's doing, and then you get to decide. And then you can also just roll perception. I've seen that house rule as well. So in that way, perception is kind of, maybe I overspoke. Perception, dexterity, and strength are sort of the 3 skills you probably to do. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else. The thing is, that's kind of it. That's the system. It's everything's D6s. So you can play this even if you don't own role-playing game dice. If you own Monopoly, you can play this game. I as soon as I bought this game, I, however, went out I can't go out. I did order just kind of nice, solid. They're a little marbled black D6s. I got a little bucket of them here. And then I know other editions of the game add exploding dice mechanics. I don't love exploding dice mechanics, but you could add them. It's one of your die is a different color, and if it rolls a 6, you keep rolling it until you stop rolling 6s. If you roll a 1, you subtract the 1 from your total. And this is another thing that's incorporated in a lot of kind of modern games. Something bad happens. You can succeed, and something bad will still happen. And that's very much powered by the apocalypse. Isn't it? It's a complication occurs. Or the Fantasy Flight Star Wars game. Sorry, let me just flop on some more lights so I can see a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, so that's, like I said, that's in the 2nd edition of the game, but there's nothing stopping you from adding that to this system. So let me think. Obviously Star Combat's a little different. I haven't gotten quite that far yet. Grenades are kind of funny. Because they might scatter kind of thing. So the thing about taking a hit is I have to see if there's different rules for this because it's a little complicated. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. So each weapon has a damage code. Most blasters have a damage code of 4 dice. Okay. When you hit a target, roll your weapon's damage dice. Then the Game Master rolls strength dice for the target, and how badly you injure the target depends on 2 rolls. So if the strength roll is greater than the damage roll, they are simply stunned. If the strength roll is greater than or equal to... If the damage roll is greater than or equal to the strength roll, but less than 2 times the strength roll, they are wounded. If the damage roll is at least 2 times the strength roll, but less than 3 times the strength roll, they are incapacitated. Damage roll is at least 3 times the strength roll, they are mortally wounded. And then there's a bunch of stuff about that. So I just want to know if there's a way to kind of streamline that. Because again, if you're trying to dodge and then you're rolling a strength roll, like, it's just a lot of dice rolling after someone attacks, and I'm not always the biggest fan of that. But you kind of want to keep that in because it's important, because if you go before someone and you stun them, you've taken away their action for the round. They can still dodge and stuff like that, but they can't shoot at you. Okay. Sorry, I just got a weird notification. Let me take a drink. Pardon me a second. I gotta do my little alchemy. I'm drinking watered down juice because I'm old. Okay. That's, like I said, that's basically it. It's a really simple system. Parts of it are elegant, parts of it are not. Parts of it feel dated. Parts of it really feel modern. And it's a very swingy system because you're rolling big fistfuls of D6s. You know, you might roll a 66 and get 6. You might get 36. You know, so like, and in that way, it's kind of, the game describes itself as cinematic. It's very much, and I think that comes through in the either something crazy big can happen or something really bad can happen. I think it's got a little bit of a notoriety for being a little deadly, but that all depends on how you play and use some of the rules. You know, especially in the movies, the bad guys are missing on purpose half the time. Like, they're supposed to get out of the Death Star. Like, yeah, so they can be tracked. Okay. Does anyone have any questions I can answer about this? Otherwise, I will maybe start to create a character. Let's only pull those up. You can use a lightsaber. I don't think it's listed because it's hard to get a lightsaber. So the default setting is, of course, Rebellion era, and the game assumes you are playing Rebels. But obviously now you can do whatever you want. I am personally a fan of the prequels, and I'd be jazzed to play an original trilogy setting, but I'd be equally, if not more, jazzed to either play High Republic or Clone Wars. But I've started to. I just finished watching Clone Wars, or well, I've seen Clone Wars. The 7th season just came out, so I finished that, and now I am finishing Rebels because I never finished it, and yeah, boy, I mean Rebels is good too, and Rebels is making me want to play in that setting. That one's a little rougher because you don't really like. I would feel weird playing a Jedi there. There are already too many Jedi who survive Order 66. Okay. We're going to build a character in a second. I want to read the original opening crawl of this game. It actually shows up better on the screen than it does on the page. It's a little light on the page, if I'm being honest. Because it doesn't know about Revenge of the Sith and all that stuff, but it's pretty close. Like, it's pretty good. Okay. Oh, no, sorry. The Old Republic was the Republic of Legends, greater than distance or time. Once under the wise rule of the Senate and the protection of the Jedi Knights, the Republic throve and grew. But as often happens when wealth and power pass beyond the admirable and attain the awesome, then appear those evil ones who have greed to match. So it was with the Republic at its height, like the greatest of trees, able to withstand any external attack. The Republic grew rotten from within, though the danger was not visible from the outside. Aided and abetted by restless, power-hungry individuals within the government and the massive organs of commerce, the ambitious Senator Palpatine caused himself to be elected President of the Republic. Okay, that's not quite right. I mean, Supreme Chancellor, President, whatever. He promised to reunite the disaffected among the people and restored the remembered glory of the Republic. Yeah, pretty much. Once secure in office, he declared himself emperor. Yeah, I mean, a little longer than that, but yeah. Shutting himself away from the populace. The cries of the people for justice did not reach his ears. Having exterminated through treachery and deception the Jedi Knights, guardians of justice in the galaxy, the Imperial governors and bureaucrats prepared to institute a reign of terror among the disheartened worlds of the galaxy. Many use the Imperial forces in the name of the increasingly isolated Emperor to further their own political ambition. But a small number of new systems rebelled at these new outrages. Declaring themselves opposed to the new order, they began the great battle to restore the Old Republic. From the beginning, they were vastly outnumbered by the systems held in the thrall by the Emperor. In those first dark days, it seemed certain the bright flame of resistance would be extinguished before it could cast the light of new truth across a galaxy of oppressed and beaten peoples. This is the galaxy into which you are born. The galaxy of Star Wars, the role-playing game. It's a bunch of B-Wings blowing up a model of a Star Destroyer. I don't know why Bane showed up. Oh, I remember one of the things I wanted to say. One of the cool things about this book is it's there's model shots, there's pictures from the movies, there's Ralph McQuarrie and Joe Johnston art, since Joe Johnston worked for ILM. But yeah, and there's just photos from the movies. They're pretty much all in black and white, but there's a couple glossy color things, including the evolution of Luke Skywalker down here. Okay, let's create a character. Now, the downside to this game, I know I complain about 5th edition's index. This game doesn't have an index. I'd rather a bad index than no index. And the table of contents is not crazy helpful. Okay, here we go. Where are we? This creating a character. I start with 18 dice. My mom just sent me something very unlike her, and it is funny. But I won't get political on this show. Nothing political about Star Wars. Come on. Oh, another old thing about this game. It doesn't refer to rounds or turns. They are segments. I know how to roleplay. Oh, there's a little solo adventure in here, and I should play that at some point. Oh, come on. What the hell? I know I can make my own characters. This is terribly interesting, I know. Sorry. Great job, Andy. I swear. Sorry. Okay, we're just going to go with 18. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So, oh, but... maybe it's in this book. Hold on. Because this book has aliens in it, and I kind of want to make a Twi'lek. Oh, what era should I make a character for? How about that? That's a good question for everybody. Prequels? I'll do prequels. Okay, wow. This calls This is sand people. That's not okay. Okay, let's do the prequels. Should I make a Jedi or not a Jedi? I can do both. So, should I start with a Jedi or not a Jedi? Actually, I have an idea for a Padawan I want to make. So, let me see. Not okay. Okay. To create a player character, see page 137 of this book. $137 are the... That's the templates. So I guess I can just create a Wookiee off of that. Okay, then yeah, let's do a regular person, then a Jedi. That is smart. Okay, oh, you know what? I have a quick way to check this. Give me a second. Good. Okay. Star Wars. Wrong button. Okay. Okay, I think so. I think minimized. Okay. So Cilantro Quan. Oops. Player name. Andy. Height. What do we want their species to be? His name is clearly old. It says sex. Cilantro. What gender is Cilantro Quan? I think for simplicity's sake, we'll copy a template and just kind of customize it. Where the hell? There it is. I don't know how I lose books that are literally right in front of me. Okay. How about a pilot? I like pilots. Okay. So, 3 die. 3 die. 2 die. 3 die. 4 die. 3 die. And no force powers. Okay, then I get... Seven die to allocate skills. Okay, so for instance, if I allocate 1 die to dodge, that means whenever I roll dodge, I roll 4 dice. And I can't allocate more than 2 at character creation. Is that true? Yeah, no more than 2. But I can allocate pips as well. Although I don't see the rules for pips in here. They're somewhere. Okay, so let's see. So I get 7. So as a pilot, let's put 2 in there. So let's I think that's 6 dice. Oh, all right, actually, hold on. That's the suggestion. That's the little example. Put the new number in there. It puts a new number in there. Okay. Okay. So that's 2. So I've got 5 more. Let's do Starship Repair. Repair. So we're down to where you got 4 left. Blaster. Let's say Sneak. Command. I got 1 more. Streetwise. Let's do Streetwise. That's literally it. That's character creation. When you level up, you get to add more stuff in here. I technically believe... I don't think you can ever increase your attributes after character creation. I think I remember reading that somewhere, but I would have to verify that. And that might only be true in one edition, so maybe you can steal it from another edition, if that's true or not. Equipment. Let's look at the equipment. I keep leaning on this box, and I don't want to do that. So let me put the source book away. So my equipment is a blaster, uniform, med pack, vac suits. And 1,000 credits. What do we think Cilantro Quan is? Species-wise. A Duros? So, hold on, let's see something. 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 18. Does everything add up to 8? Do all the templates add up to 18? This math. I have to figure it out. I think they do. I'm pretty sure 18 is the number you get for there. Okay. So we're going to say a Duros. Duros. Blue skin. Large black eyes. Duros, I don't know. Let's say 5'7", weight 150. Let's say a boy 25. Always in his rebel flight suits, though often the top half is tied. Is tied around his waist. My favorite jizz artist is Figrin Dan and the Modal Nodes. Check them out nightly in the Mos Eisley Cantina. They're way better than Finn McCool over at Jabba's Palace. Jedi Rocks sucks. People can say whatever they want about Han shooting first in the special edition or whatever. The worst thing the special editions ever did was Jedi Rocks. That is an abomination. I love Return of the Jedi. I have no hill to die on the special editions. I think they are mostly unnecessary changes. But Jedi Rocks is an actively worse version of Jabba's Palace. Okay. My diatribe about that aside. Let's see. Hold on a second. Yeah. You just see that? Okay, hold on. I'm having some problems. Come on. Give me 1 second. File. Save as. Electro Quan. Thoros pilots. Save. File. Go. Perfect. And I love the Cantina theme. It played at my wedding after we got married, when we walked back out the aisle. And that was not my idea. That was Krista's idea. And it made me love her even more. Okay, here we go. Okay, I had this idea a long, long time ago. In a galaxy far, far away, one might say. Okay. Jenna Bozak. Now, I like Jindara. Now, did it wrong. Okay, I had this idea. I have a little, I typically keep little documents that I just write character ideas in, and this was way back when I was going to try and run the Fantasy Flight Games one, which I still want to run at some point because it seems really cool, but it's a little hard to run online. I personally, without everyone kind of having the books and the dice, you can get dice rollers and stuff like that, but the books are the harder thing. Um, I think if people were familiar with it beforehand and we tried to play online, I don't think that would be a problem. But it's one of those games where I want to learn it before, and this is just a lot simpler. So I have character ideas I wrote down if I ever got to play, including one, ironically, whose first name is Nico, which is now my cat's name. Though coincidentally, we did not name him. That was the name he had at the shelter. Okay. So I had this idea. She's a Padawan during the Clone Wars. Twi'lek, violet skin. Instead of a Padawan braid, she has one of her Leku is wrapped with a silver ribbon because, Ahsoka doesn't have a braid because she has Leku. She has a little chain that goes over. So I think Jedi who don't have hair still have a braid of some way. So I always liked that. So the silver silk ribbon I thought was kind of nice. Forest green and light gray tunic with dark singular is lek. You might be right, Marty. But they are called Leku. Take note, certain former authors of Star Wars books called Leku. Green lightsaber. Okay, so I think for simplicity's sake, though I can use the Twi'lek stats from the source book and then add to it. I'm just going to use minor Jedi. Because what is a Padawan but a minor Jedi? Oops. Oh no. Boy, I'm glad that the little writer thing for this isn't too bad. It wasn't form fillable and I was worried about that, but it's really not been too bad. Okay. I get one. So let me fix the ones that are... Once I want to do failed Jedi. They get more force powers. Okay, let me see. Attributes and skills, 25. Lightsaber, I'm pretty sure, is a dex skill. Oh, weird. Yeah, I guess melee weapons are also a dex thing. And I was at 5e, jeez. In this. Light saber. Okay. Thank you, Soup. Okay, so if it's not any at all obvious, I'm inspired by Ahsoka because she's my favorite. So let's see. What is Ahsoka? What would my character, who's not Ahsoka, OC, do not steal, named Chenna Jindara, be good at? I think a lightsaber is a given. So let's make that 4. So that's 1. If she is a Padawan during the Clone Wars, let's see, 4. Let's add a 1 there for command. And she would be a commander. Come on. I think she'd learned a lot about the galaxy. Oh, so plus 2. Nope, come on. So I've spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say diplomat. I like that. I like that question, Liz. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do dodge if she's in the Clone Wars. And then I'd be able to increase... Oh, I didn't increase any force powers. Crap. Get rid of command. I like the idea that maybe she wouldn't be a commander so much as a diplomat. And then I will also get rid of alien races. So let me read how force powers work real fast. Turned right to it. Okay. Interesting. So basically, interesting. Okay. So basically, for your force powers, you don't select force powers ever. You can use whatever force powers you want, but each one has a difficulty number, and you have to roll that, at least that, with your skill. So you can try and use remain conscious if you only have a 1 force control. You won't succeed because it's a 10. If you only have a 1. Now, if you're using wild die, it's possible you would succeed if you roll a 6 and then you roll a 4. But you could also use your force point to double your die for it. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. Ooh. Okay, I love this. When a character with dark side points uses a force skill, his skill code is... This game is old, so it defaults to male. Sorry, I will try and edit that. When a character with dark side points... Although I swear it didn't do that in some sections, that it used her as well. But okay. When a character with dark side points uses a force skill, their skill code is increased by 1d1 by 1 die per dark side point. For example, Jimbo, what a great Star Wars name. Jimbo's control skill is 4 die, and he has 2 dark side points. When he uses his control skill, he rolls 6 die, because it is easier to harness the dark side of the Force than the light. The dark side is the easier, more seductive path. There is always temptation to take it and risk abandonment of the light. I love that. The dark side's the easy way out. Yeah, it's not hard to give in to the dark side and just become more powerful. They say that all throughout the movies. I love it. Okay. We made our little Jedi Padawan. All this has done is made me want to play this game so much. So that's a really, really basic overview of it. Kind of some of the stuff that stuck out to me, some of the stuff I liked. Yeah, if anybody has any questions in chat, let me know. If this gets up on YouTube, which it may not, because it's kind of rambly and weird, ask them in below. I might be able to answer them. But you can get this. I got this set off of Amazon for a not unreasonable price. I think it was technically cheaper than MSRP. So it's still available, even though it is technically a couple years old. And I know Fantasy Flight is having some issues, I guess is the nice way to put it right now. But yeah, I'm going to wait a minute to see if anybody has any questions or anything in chat. But other than that, follow me on Twitter, @AndyHatton, @LaughINNDragon. This week is Task Force Unlikely and Empire of Leaves. Phantom Horizons will be back on the 15th. Next Monday is probably Alone Against the Dark. But also watch Twitter, because I might start doing stuff on Tuesdays. Earlier in the day, around 4. We'll see how that goes. That might only be twice a month. I haven't decided yet. But keep tuned to this channel, because I do plan on running this at some point, and I have a feeling it will be set. Here's a preview for the folks in chat, 3 of whom would probably, or the 3 folks in chat would probably be involved in this game. I believe it will be set during the High Republic. Probably just prior to the Clone Wars. I think it will be set between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. So Obi-Wan will be full mullet. And I've been working on my Obi-Wan impression. I can say 2 things, and everything else is garbage. And arguably the 2 things aren't very good. It's hello there. That wasn't good. I can do it. Hello there. That was okay. And Anakin. That's it. So I just gotta keep saying hello there and Anakin to get back into Obi-Wan. If Obi-Wan shows up. Spoiler, Obi-Wan will probably show up. I love Obi-Wan. You mean old Ben? And you can also see Anakin be a total brat. And I say that as someone who actually really likes Anakin for the most part, his arc. Especially if you add the Clone Wars in. Like, he's just afraid to lose anyone. Like, that's so obvious. It's not Hayden Christensen's fault that George Lucas is kind of a crappy actor's director. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for hanging out. Sorry this was a bit rambly, but it was conversational. Everybody. Yeah. Um, be cool, be safe, be nice to each other. Have a great night. That's a Star Wars thing, right? Bye.